preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Hi, it's Ken with A6, Article6.org, and today we're going to cover the basics of a blowout kit. This video is intended for some of our team members, the ones that don't have a medical background. I myself don't have a great medical background. I've taken basic trauma classes and done my own research, so there are other people on our team who are way more qualified than I am. But it doesn't take a lot of qualifications, just some basic training to understand and put into practical use the usage of a blowout kit and the items that are contained within it. So part of our mission here at A6, or Article6.org, is to not only train our own teams, and that's one of the things that this video will be used for the everyday people on our teams who are trying to equip, whether it be a battle belt or possibly something they wear in an everyday situation like to the movie theater or something in heightened threat level situations, but also for the general public out there that may want to have something around. They don't really have a lot of information about what they should put in it. This video is not going to be training you how to use the items in this medical kit or this blowout kit. It's just basically going to be covering the contents, some suggested brands, and some suggested contents. A blowout kit is not intended to be a massive medical kit. It's also not intended to be an IFAK. So you have a blowout kit, which is intended to perhaps stop, fix bullet holes. It is intended to maybe if you have an arterial bleed that's going to make you bleed out in a matter of minutes, or an everyday citizen down the street that you see that ran into harm's way, possibly an attack, an auto accident, any number of things. I watched a video at the Skinny Medic medical class, trauma class that I took in South Carolina, and they showed some mountain bikers that were riding, and the guy just happened to somehow, I don't remember how he did it, but his femoral artery got sliced, he was bleeding out, he was unconscious in like 30 to 45 seconds, and they rushed on the scene, and it showed real life applications about when you might use the contents, in this case, a blowout.
Ça va pas? Ah putain, téléphone vite, hein. Vite, hein.
Appuie dessus.
C'est vrai?
Appuie dessus de toutes tes forces.
Putain, c'est quoi ça?
Une artère.
Putain, c'est pas possible, con.
J'ai les doigts.
J'ai mis le genou, quoi.
Je le sens. On n'est pas bon.
Ça va?
Ouais. Ça rapide. Rapide, non, là on fait n'importe quoi. Voilà, c'est bon. Rapide, ah là. Ça pisse trop, je vais crever.
Ça va?
So a blowout kit's going to fix bullet holes, or at least save life until it can be properly repaired. A bullet hole, it could be massive arterial bleeding, any number of things. A knife wound, airway situations, maybe a head trauma situation. And then you move on to an IFAK, which would be an individual first aid kit, and then on into a full medical kit. Now, I am not a trained medical professional. I have taken some basic trauma classes on my own. I've done my own research. So this is not intended to be taken as professional medical advice. This is going to cover the contents of my blowout kit and the brands and the items that I've chosen to put within it. So without further ado, let's continue on and dig into this thing. What I have here in my battle belt is the Ronin Tactics Medical Pull-Away. It's about $65 at their website, ships out of Colorado. I've recently converted both on my plate carrier and my battle belt to the Ronin Tactics medical kit. It's a micro medical kit, just perfect size for a blowout kit. So we'll tear into this thing. The first item we have in here is probably going to be the first one you're going to reach for. It's going to be a cat tourniquet. You want to be careful when you buy these. There are a lot of fakes out there. Make sure that they come from North America Rescue is one sure way to guarantee the authenticity. Also, the price should be somewhere in the $30 to $40 range. I think about $35. Sometimes you can find them a little cheaper, the older generation ones like the Cat 5s. I think they're up to Cat 7 now. Nonetheless, if you want to be sure, just go to North American Rescue or buy one on Amazon that comes from North American Rescue. If you're finding one for $8 or $16 or somewhere in that neighborhood, guarantee it's fake. And there's some videos out on YouTube that shows these things breaking when you actually put them into use. Some things to look for is going to be the lot numbers and the date of manufacture right here. Another big thing to look for is going to be the actual cat brand on here with patent numbers. I suppose somebody could fake that, but generally speaking, I haven't seen any fakes that have this stamped on here, so you're going to be looking for that. But your cat tourniquet, necessity, that's going to be the first go-to thing in most cases you're going to reach for out of this blowout kit. Next on my kit, I have a pair of trauma shears. A buddy of mine and I are having a debate. We're going to test these out on some real jeans. These were, I want to say about $9 or so. We're going to test these out to make sure they're going to be thorough to do the job. From what I hear, they are. I've had them reviewed by medical instructors I've taken classes from, and they said they should be sufficient for this. But I'm going to put them to the test here shortly. But nonetheless, you need some medical shears to cut away clothing to gain access to the wound or the injury and find out where the blood's coming from, find out what the damage is, and also gain access to do wound packing. Next is an item I absolutely love. I used to use QuikClot, and I'm not saying that they're bad or anything like that, but really I'm going towards Celox. And this particular stuff, I love the Celox gauze. It's a Z-fold hemostatic gauze. So as you're packing a wound, when you first start packing that wound, going with a hemostatic agent like Celox and packing with some Celox gauze is really going to get in there on that artery or that source of bleeding and cause that stuff to clot up and stop the bleeding a lot faster. So the Z-fold, you can study up on that, do some YouTube searches for Z-fold hemostatic gauze and show how to pack a wound with that. But for me, it just worked a lot better than regular old rollout gauze, which is going to be like off over here like this. So you'll notice I also have just regular generic rolls of gauze, one roll of gauze here. And I'm going to use that on a deep wound to pack on top of the hemostatic gauze and go ahead and, really build up within the wound and really get that pressure in there on that thing. So just generic regular gauze works fine as well. Next in here, I have a couple pair of nitrile gloves. I chose brown in color because I figure it's going to show blood better, like a black glove or, something like that, especially in dark conditions. It's really not going to show, if you're reaching your hand up into somebody's clothing to find out if, or just doing an assessment of their body to find out where the bleeding's coming from, and you pull your hands out to see if it's bloody. It's kind of hard to see if the color doesn't really contrast well with blood. So I have a couple pair of nitrile gloves in here. Next up, we have our HyFin vents. You can do a little bit of studying about vent chest seals, but these are chest seals, and I went with the compact size because they fit better into a blowout kit. The full size is kind of tough to fit into a regular blowout kit. It might work fine in a full-size IFAK, but HyFin chest seal, the vented ones, they're going to allow blood and trapped air inside of the body to escape and not build up. But these are going to be used to cover like a bullet wound in the chest. It's basically a chest seal to seal out external contaminants and let internal things come out. Anyway, this has an entry and exit wound. Notice here, compact entry exit wound. So in a lot of cases, if you get a bullet hole through the front, it's going to exit somewhere in the back. So it has both chest seals here. And you can plug the entry and the exit wound. Essential piece of kit for your medical kit. Next in here I have an MPA, which stands for, this is always fun to say, nasopharyngeal airway. This is going to help clear airway blockages. I went ahead and also just took some clear tape and taped the lubricant on there, the surgical lubricant as well. Go ahead and smear that on here as you shove it through the nasal cavity and goes back into the throat and clears the nasal airway. Other than that, the last thing I have in here is just simply some duct tape. Doesn't take up much space, and I figure I might be able to use it to make a butterfly bandage in a worst case scenario or some other impromptu MacGyver type things. Next up, I have an Israeli emergency bandage, trauma wound dressing, hemorrhage control bandage. I went with a 4-inch. The 6-inch, as you can see, the 4-inch fits here in this well. The 6-inch was just way too much. But you can find these reasonably inexpensive on Amazon. It's great for wrapping around after you pack the wound and go ahead and closing things off and getting it tight and and held in place. It can also be very useful for like head trauma. It's a multi-purpose thing that you'll use for a variety of different means. It's an essential piece of gear to have in your blowout kit. And one more thing I want to say about your cat tourniquets. Some people choose the soft tees, by the way. Those can work fine too. But on the cats especially, I encourage people to go ahead and stage them. Which by staging I mean go ahead and pull it apart and get it to the proper length to where it's going to fit. For example, I stage mine to go around my full thigh, And that way, if I'm having to grab for it immediately, I don't have it, you know, all compact and tightened to where it's going to go around my bicep or something like that. And I have to finagle with this thing and get the Velcro unattached and loosened up and made to where it can fit around my thigh. So I stage mine for my thigh, and then I just go ahead and, you know, roll it up appropriately to fit it in to the medical kit. So there you have it. Like I said, this is just to cover the contents of my blowout kit, not to go through each and every component of it and teach how to use it or to give, you know, instruction about it. So I encourage everybody to check with your regional coordinator and find a class near you or a class that they suggest for basic trauma first aid. I personally suggest Skinny Medic. Just search YouTube or the internet for Skinny Medic. It's kind of an odd name for a guy, but evidently he was an EMT of the year, 2 years solid, I think in a row even. Might have been 4 years. I think it's 2 years in a row in South Carolina. He offers a great class. It's a Saturday class for $100. It's hands-on, covers a lot of this stuff. And for me personally, that class did me the most good because I got to get in there and get my hands dirty and, you know, really just start tearing packages open and putting them to work. He did some great drills where he just called one of our buddies down and we had to go take care of him and find the injury, or he told us what the injury was and we had to fix it. So it was a great class for $100. Unfortunately, the drive was a little burdensome. But check with your regional coordinator for ASICs and they may be able to find a class closer to you or a class that they suggest. So other than that, I know questions will come up about the battle belt because we're all gear junkies. So I'll give you a quick description of what all this entails. I'm running a Ronin battle belt from Ronin Tactics. I'm running Blue Force gear as far as my AR mag pouches and my pistol mag pouches. Ronin pull away medical kit. I'm also running the Blue Force gear dump pouch right here. Nice and tight, doesn't take up too much space. Running an SA4 knife here on a makeshift MacGyver drop leg. Running a T-Rex Arms Ragnarok holster with a Safariland UBL mid-rise to drop it down a little bit. And then I'm just running a Leatherman here. So anyway, long live the Republic. And if you have any questions, check with your chapter coordinator and we'd be happy to help where we can. A6, we've got your 6. Take care.